Okay, so you started DJing when you were 13, right?
Yes.
So how was that back then?
You've done your research, clearly.
You weren't even allowed in clubs and you're doing that music.
Yeah. Well, my sister, when I was younger, gave me. I was into like indie music, like Oasis, Blur, like Charlatan, stuff like that. My sister was a really big dance music head. She used to go to Ibiza and stuff every year, and she wasn't having it. She didn't want me to be listening to like guitar music, so she gave me Daft Punk album and the Basement Jaxx album. And as soon as I started hearing that music, I kind of I was like, I want to take this from the next level, from just being into these albums to like being a part of this kind of music, not just being a fan. Saved up some money, bought a set of really bad old Gemini belt-driven decks, like decks for kids, and I was a kid. Started buying records, and just got on with it. Got a job in the local record shop, and then the rest is history, kind of.
You're also an owner of a label, so how important is for a young artist to be signed to a good label for him or her to become a better, more known DJ?
I actually think that now people like me are lucky because there is a culture now where it's kind of cool, it's okay, or it's cool. I don't like to use the word cool with regards to music, but it's okay to just be a DJ and not necessarily be a producer. I think in terms of choosing the right label, it's important to choose a label that, as an artist, if you have one hit, the label is going to support you and give you longevity rather than pick you up because you're hot and then just drop you, which is something I sadly see with a lot of new producers. They have like a hit, especially when people make an underground track and it gets maybe signed to a major label and it ends up in the charts, and then they kind of get dropped and left high and dry by the label. So in terms of that, it's the way our label works is very much like a family, and it's very much like if you're loyal as a producer and an artist to us, then we'll be loyal to you forever, kind of thing.
So you also worked on a local radio station, right?
Yes.
And we are a radio station now.
Yeah.
I've
worked for a couple of radio stations. I had a show on Rinse FM, but it became difficult to maintain because I lived in Glasgow and the radio was in London. So when I first got my radio show and I was super excited, I would fly to London every month to do my radio show, and then as it becomes a bit more of a familiar thing, you're less prepared to fly every month all the way down the country. And then I got a radio show in for BBC Radio 1, which was obviously like a really big deal. It's the biggest radio station in the UK, one of the biggest in Europe certainly.
Would you agree that video killed the radio star? What is the future of radio?
I think, especially for my culture, where I came from, radio is hugely important. In London, even pirate radio as well was such a big deal. I unfortunately I just wasn't able to maintain a show that I had to travel all the way to London for every week or every month. But it's something I'm looking to go back into, maybe when the touring gets a little bit less hectic, go back into doing more radio stuff, because there's a real buzz about doing radio that it's a different kind of buzz than it is from playing live. I find it really nerve-wracking on radio. As soon as the little light goes red and you're live, it's like, whoa, it's really hard, and I stutter my words anyway and I fumble my words, but it's really difficult once that mic goes live. But for that reason, it's just a completely different buzz and a different high that you get from DJing.
Okay, so let's get back to DJing. So what has changed in the past 10 or 15 years? Many DJs say that the equipment is more accessible now, and it's no longer it's no longer for the rich kids. It's much easier to get the equipment to do the work, right?
I think it's easier to get the equipment. The equipment's still expensive. It's easier to get access to the music is the main thing, I think, now. Since the dawn of like Napster and file sharing programs like that, it's become a lot easier for DJs to get their hands on material. It's easier to be educated about music thanks to websites.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it is and it isn't. I really miss the culture of going into a record shop and having the the knowledge of the kid behind the counter who always knows infinitely more than any website. You know, there's a certain trust you develop with someone in your local record store that knows you and you know them, they know what you're into. So I miss that. I really like to try and go to local record shops whenever I have time when I'm in cities. Usually I'm sleeping before a show, but if I'm not in bed, then I'm in the record shop. I'm Jackmaster, and you should stop what you're doing now and listen to the best radio station in the world called O Radio. Yeah.